Why don't climate activists target private jets? Most of the climate activism that we see on the news involves disrupting traffic, which only annoys everyday folk, rather than gaining their support. Conversely, we know private jets are one of the biggest ways to increase your carbon emissions. Hypothetically, if climate activists were to target private jets, perhaps throw paint or oil inside the engines, or even just phone in a hoax to say the planes had been sabotaged, those planes would have to be grounded and checked. The only people this would truly inconvenience are the rich elite, whilst also gaining the support and PR that climate activists need, whilst simultaneously saving a few kilograms in carbon emissions to boot. Just stepping on the airport tarmac automatically gets you 5 stars. Screwing around in airport property is a great way to land yourself in prison. Average climate activism criminal activity, depending on viewpoint, rarely goes above lower level felony violence or property damage. Doing the same thing at an airport can land you terrorism, critical infrastructure, or sabotage charges. Airport security is not a joke, and damaging a private jet would be an inevitable lawsuit that the climate activist will obviously lose. They did. It didn't work. It's harder to target private jets than commercial flights. You can find out what commercial flights are going to fly from your local airport with just a search or two on Google. While you would need some level of insider information to know when a private plane is in that airport to be targeted. The goal is to get on the B News go viral. Throwing paint at a painting generally will do that, as there are a lot of people around and many will film. Well, they do actually. They did, but airport or secured it's hard to get access to it. Private jet are expensive, and their owner don't care about the PR nightmare that suing the shit out of climate activist would be. Even symbolic action would be treated like permanent damage costing millions to repair. Not an issue if you're broke. But now you'd be broke forever. Law has been incredibly aggressive against climate activists. Even Greta Thunberg got criminally sentenced. It's a pity, because one could expect that the West doesn't have political prisoner. Tried unauthorized access to an airport lately? People that own private jets are people with bodyguards. If they did, someone would question, why do climate activists destroy personal property of wealthy people? Don't they know wealthy people provide jobs? Activists and protesters, no matter what, will be vilified, questioned, or arrested by those who disagree with them. Good luck waltzing into an airport hangar. Because most activists aren't too bright in that regard. It's more about exposure and publicity than actually doing something against the cause. A lot of the big-name climate activists that fund the bigger movements also use private jets. Prince Harry took a damn private plane just to go to a concert. Also, when all of the elites go to Davos to discuss climate change, they all take private jets. Private jets have private security. In my country, they tried earlier this year by blocking the private jet terminal at the capital's airport. People just got annoyed all the same. Sadly, environmental issues seem to not be a concern for most people in this European country. How does a climate activist get access to the engine of a private jet such that they can throw paint in it? In addition to what other commenters have pointed out, disrupting traffic doesn't only annoy everyday folk. Corporations get an enormous amount of economic value out of America's road system. Throwing a wrench into the roads is a way of kneecapping the companies. I understand that it's not a particularly pleasant strategy, but basically anything is justified in the course of slowing global warming. I mean, scientists estimate that global warming will kill 83 million people just from the heat, not factoring in natural disasters, warfare, or crop failures. Try to keep the big picture in mind, because that's how their heroes get around without having to mix with the peasantry. They do. You are missing the point of the protest. It's all about getting attention to the fact the earth will be uninhabitable for human life, and that problem is the only one that really matters right now. We need to all focus our time and resources into changing, or else literally nothing else will matter, because we will all be dead. If you understand that, then it becomes obvious why they do what they do. They are flabbergasted everyone is just going about their normal lives when our extinction is imminent. I can't blame them. There is probably too much security. Also, it would be a federal crime. It's too easy to get mistaken as a terrorist and shot dead. Messing with planes due to how dangerous they can be to the general populace is a pretty serious crime. They wouldn't get warnings or fines for that. They would get prison. Private jet owners have private armies to keep the unwashed masses away. The point of a big public protest is to garner media attention, so people start petitioning elected reps to do something about the issue at large. Because then they won't be able to fly out to the climate protests. Funny thing, wealthy people employ excellent security around them. See that unconcerned swagger? They pay people to be concerned so they don't have to be. Because disrupting your life is the only way you actually pay attention. You really think if they'd target private jets of millionaires and billionaires that shit wouldn't be shut down immediately? Seriously though, private jets for these short trips can emit a lot of carbon. Makes no sense. OP apparently has no idea how difficult and illegal it is to trespass on the tarmac. Because that means beloved people like Taylor Swift would have to be hated for being the top celeb polluter with how often she used her private jet. Many climate activists fly in private jets because the people in the private jets are funding the climate activists. Jet trackers get banned because rich people have the ability to claim it's terrorism. It's nonsense, but they can afford to amplify their message. Or simply buy the platform and ban people they don't like. Cough Moscow. Rules for thee and not for me. Who do you think funds all the activists? The rich want us to fight with each other and not them. Why haven't the tax codes changed? Taxing the wealthy more? 'Cause political donors don't want that. Because the biggest climate activists own them and need them to get around. How else can they meet up to tell everyone else what to do? Because the same people pushing climate activism are the ones flying in their private jets while telling you need to stop driving your gas car. It's because some of the biggest climate activists like Al Gore and John Kerry are super rich and use private jets. If they targeted private jets, they would look more hypocritical than they already are. Because they ride in private jets. Except Greta Thunberg. She sailed across the Atlantic on Benjamin de Rothschild's yacht. Because then they can't virtue signal. If you block traffic inconveniencing people who have nothing to do with why you're virtue signaling, then you can get publicity. A private jet only annoys a few people and there is no publicity. Narcissists need attention. Private jets just aren't that big a deal. Environmentally, it looks like the activists have a bone to pick rather than wanting to make a big change. Blocking construction of an oil pipeline is a huge gesture. Throwing paint on one of the few private jets in existence looks like you're jealous that they're rich. I don't even get the point of climate activism. All it does is create nuisance for the poor people. Just another side quest for rich people and nations to give them some sort of purpose. You know who else uses private jet charters? Organ transplants. Greta and Billy G rides on them.